I'm the head of music at Disney Television Studios. We produce 20th Television and 20th Animation. These kids are running around. Boss says, you got to get these kids out of here. I'm trying to have a sales meeting. They're the Jacksons.
Wow.
So it was Lady Gaga. We went #1 with Just Dance. Then we went #1 with Poker Face. We could sell 50,000 albums. You got to sell 50,000 before you sell 29 million.
Yeah, 29 million records.
What we're doing on Paradise.
Paradise was amazing.
Yeah.
I love that show.
So my role now is to help our show creators do the best version of the sound in their heads.
Yo, what's good, y'all? I'm Big Tank. Welcome to the podcast, the man behind the music. Back to my right, as usual, my guy, Denon.
That's right. I'm being nice today.
You are being nice right now.
You see how cool I'm being?
Rockwilder.
Let's have some fun today.
And next to me, we have a very, very, very special guest. His name is Jeremy Summers. Now,
Hello.
What you guys might not know about Jeremy by looking at him is that he's got the fieriest beats out of all of us in here.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna get too much into that.
Okay.
But
Get my MPC.
Right, exactly. Jeremy also runs as the head of the all the music over at the Disney Studios network, and just an amazing guy. He's worked in the record industry, radio, management, the whole nine from Canada, and has done some amazing things. But I'm gonna let you tell us more about that now. Everybody, Jeremy.
Thank you.
All right.
Studio audience
Jeremy,
of 4 people.
Studio audience.
How did you break into the entertainment industry, and what led you to your current role as the head of music at Disney?
Well, so I'm the head of music at Disney Television Studios. So it's all of the scripted shows that we produce at 20th Television and 20th Animation. So it's about it can be as many as 60 shows that my group is overseeing. So how I got into the business is probably like a lot of us, is that I was a failed musician. You know, when you can't do, you do the record business.
Like
So I was playing in a band. I was playing drums, and I really grew up in the music business. You know, fact is, my dad used to work at Motown Records. I don't even know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In Detroit on Jefferson Avenue.
Okay.
He was the head of sales. They started a white label, Motown, and they had my dad as the president. Rare Earth Records. Okay.
Rare Earth.
Yeah.
Rare Earth. Yeah, Rare Earth.
And basically what they were doing was they were doing re-records of the black records that Motown had released and used Rare Earth as the group. Anyway, actually, funny story. He was running a sales meeting on the Jefferson Avenue office, and he's got all his sales guys in. These kids are running around. He's like, what the? He calls upstairs to his boss. He says, you got to get these kids out of here. I'm trying to have a sales meeting. His boss says, Joe, those kids, they're the Jacksons. We're going to make a lot of money off of them, okay? So they do whatever they want to do. So anyway, that's the benefit that I have always had of a glimpse of what happens in the business, okay? Understanding all the roles. So I'm playing in a band, feeling pretty good. We got a song on the radio, video. I'm making cash every weekend. And we had a bunch of A&R guys come out. And, you know, we finished the show afterwards. And one of them was from A&M Records. I said, you know, so what'd they think? Says, you know, you're pretty good live, but you just need songs. I went, yes. My dad says, son, that's every out there. Right. Everyone just needs songs. Right. He said, you know, you've been doing the management thing of your own band. You should go talk to so-and-so at the label. So I joined doing inventories. And I used to go to warehouses in a suit, and I would go do inventories of CDs at the time and LPs and cassettes. I had some of my own accounts, and I would go to the record stores. We used to have record stores.
Right.
And, you know, and you used to be able to affect someone's buying right there at the record store, okay? So I would do the displays and front windows and inventories, and then what you would do is you'd take your records and you move them to the front of the shelf. You know, so that you always had your stuff front racked. So I had started there, and my question was always, how can I have the biggest impact on an artist? You know, that's what that was always my guiding light. And so I saw that radio promotion was like the first one to touch a record. So I got into radio promotion. And then I saw that it was marketing that was actually driving a lot of that, and I ended up getting into that. And it also happened at the time that, you know, the record business was in serious decline. So we were cutting people every year. And I basically went from director to running 4 divisions because they had fired everyone else. And I had taken over Interscope Records in Canada. And it's a Canadian affiliate up there. It's a Universal thing. And we didn't have any releases on the schedule. And we didn't have any billing. And all I could think was that I was going to be associated with, it was my, I didn't know how to do anything else. So I came down here and I met with a bunch of A&R guys. And I met with Ron Fair, Ron.
My mentor.
And he's my mentor and my dear, dear friend.
Yeah, me too.
And I met with him and he says, we got, let me play you some records. He plays me a couple things. One of them is like Lights Out. It was a Pussycat Dolls spinoff. And I made a couple calls and we made sure that there was going to be a TV show in Canada. And so we actually ended up signing the band directly and we sold triple platinum on it, had a lot of success. And Ron did a lot of work for us with that. And so at the time I needed billing, I went and met with Martin Gierzenbaum. And Martin was the head of international at the time. He was doing his own Cherry Tree.
Yeah.
And he played me a song.
Lady Gaga.
And I just thought it had Akon on it. And I thought, wow, that sounds really good to me. He says, it's not right yet down here. It's not the right time for it right now. And I said, well, can you set up a showcase? We go across the street, sets up a showcase. And there's a little, like a RCA color TV. And it goes all black. And it starts with a David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust video. And you hear this little voice. It actually won't be this video, but it gives you an idea of what I'm going for. And then she plays 2 songs. And I'm like,
wow.
I think you're amazing.
Break. Yo, what's good, everybody? I'm Big Tank. I'm the host of the podcast, The Man Behind the Music. And what I need you to do right now is to download the app. If you are a music artist, if you're an independent artist, if you aspire to do music in any capacity, this is the app for you. If you want to learn everything from music production to song splits to anything of the sort, this is the app for you. You want to talk to A&Rs, you want to talk to showrunners, you want to talk to TV executives, song placement to getting a record deal to how to win a Grammy. This is the app for you. So listen, right now, learn everything you need to learn about the music industry and download the Man Behind the Music app. I'm Big Tank.
And we're back.
And so I went back to Canada and I couldn't find a supporter who worked for me. And there was a guy who was sitting out front of my desk. It was about 7:00. I come out, I'm having a beer. Now I'm just tired. And I'm like, hey, JP, you hear that record? He says, yeah, I think it's pretty good. I said, well, you want to market it? He says, well, I never marketed anything. I said, me neither. We'll do it together. It was Lady Gaga. We went #1 with Just Dance. Then we went #1 with Poker Face.
Oh, yeah.
It was Canada, Australia, and Holland. And we put out a 12-song version of the album. And we ended up putting in number 12. And I remember I brought everyone in the conference room. It's quite uncomfortable. And I said, you see what we just did here? You see what we did? If we do this thing right, we could sell 50,000 albums.
Wow.
Right.
Well, I was right, you know. You got to sell 50,000 before you sell 29 million.
Yeah, 29 million records.
And then we worked with, Vince and Troy and Martin, and they just worked tirelessly. And Gaga worked her ass off.
Yeah.
And
broke Lady Gaga.
Well, then what ended up happening was, the radio stations in Buffalo and Detroit started getting requests, and they didn't even have the record because it wasn't scheduled here. And they got requests because the Canadian stations were playing it, the audience was hearing it. And then, obviously, she became, Interscope did an incredible job, took it over, and really, look at what she's become. It's incredible.
Yeah.
How's the air up there at 29 minutes?
How's
the air?
You have to ask her. I'm at 50,000. I'm treading water down there.
Well, I think that would be considered pivotal moments. I was going to ask you about pivotal moments or projects that changed your trajectory or how you approach music and film today.
Well, let's just talk about that one for a minute, okay? So the Gaga thing, what was interesting about it was one of the things I remember, we were in an executive meeting in my Canadian office, and my right hand guy said, we're breaking this Lady Gaga. We went outside, and I said, hey man, don't tell anyone that we're breaking an artist, because once you say that. Everyone roots against you, right?
Yeah.
Once you say, "Hey, I'm representing, this great new artist."
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Sure, yeah. Well, this artist's going to be the biggest in the world. Yeah, right.
Right.
People start betting against you because it's 99% that they're going to be right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, what was great about that project was, man, she worked harder than all of us. Okay, that was the most important thing. But was that we never prescribed it to anyone. We never stuck our head up and said, we're gonna go do this.
Yeah.
Everyone, get the cape. We're super label. We just went and brick by brick and mortar by mortar. And then one day we looked out and we had built a house. And so it was like a put your head down. And just know that, if you can make 100 right moves, you're going to get there.
It's funny you was talking about Martin Kurzban, because that was a pivotal person for me. Paul and them introduced me to him, and Martin gave me this little drum machine. I didn't know what it was. It was like, I can't even tell you what it is right now, but you rub your fingers over it and boom, 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 boom. But I had this thing, and it was like, I messed with it and made this song from it. Just made it. And he ended up introducing me to Sting, and he put me in the studio with Sting. That's how I met
How cool
Sting,
is that?
Through Martin. And I feel like people, not even just pivotal moments, but pivotal people and things that happen, they change the trajectory of everything,
sure.
right? Like even right now, today. Like, and I don't know how often that happens, but Martin was super pivotal just for me. So when you say it, like, it's crazy.
So I'm in this seat right now because of him. Okay,
yeah,
because
crazy.
I was having that success up there, and so we had sort of remade the company up there, and I was working for my boss, who was the chairman, and it was Martin who went to Berman and Jimmy and said, there's a guy up in Canada, and you got to bring him down here. And which ultimately wasn't where I ended up staying. You know what I mean? But 100 right moves, I guess, and that was one of them. But he's one of those people I'm grateful to him, and I mean, literally, I am here today because through all of those moves to get here. Right?
Wow.
There's a guy. You ever know Cadis and Sean?
I don't
know those guys.
No.
The producers. I don't know if they ever made it, but he used to say, Cadis would say, you are rewriting your DNA every day.
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, if you learn to speak a new language and you were to have a child, that predisposition would be passed down to your kid, right? Yeah. If you had built a new talent, or that's now in your DNA. And so the idea was that every day you're programming your DNA to change. And so that's why you just said, even today.
Yeah, even today.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, I mean, that's a great one. Then I ended up getting into management. I started working with Jeff Quatnitz.
Okay.
Who is just one of the, characters of our business and brilliant minds. So I went over there, he's been working with Ice Cube forever. I learned management. We built we sort of restructured that company. And so we have 5 TV shows on the air at the time. We had a bunch of movies, and we had a record label. And it was at that time that it made sense. They were making changes at Fox. They were bringing in a new head of music. And our lawyer called. He said, we got 58 people on the list. I can make it 59? I went, okay. 59 became 8, became 4, became me.
Wow.
And so now we are in our new iteration. How'd I do? Was that question
that was
number one?
good. That was good.
Question
That
number
was
one.
good. That was good. That was good.
Sorry, guys.
Nah, you good.
Am I over the segment?
Nah, man, please. Ain't no segment. Rock, what you got?
How do you define your role in music, like when you're doing storytelling for film and television?
Yeah.
How do you define it?
Well, there's a couple of things, right? One is that, so my role now at Disney Television Studios is to help our show creators do the best version of the sound in their heads for their show. Okay? It's not my show. It's not my taste. Of course, it's informed by it wherever I think it's a good decision. But ultimately, I'm helping, the show creator, who sometimes can articulate exactly what they want. Other times need a translator. Other times need introductions, to be able to build a team and then help them do the best version of the music in their head for their show.
I totally agree with that, because Mickey Mouse Clubhouse has been transcending generations in my house, from the oldest child to the youngest child. And that one little song, it's the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. That definition of that song has transcended through decades. And I'm watching it raise my children in the house, and they're stuck. They can't move off that.
I don't work on that one specifically.
I know that, but I'm just saying the vibe.
But let me tell you something that I have seen inside the Disney. I don't want to call it a machine because it does a disservice. I mean, it's an incredible organization where they use storytelling, they use music, they engage people, they educate people. They can, the whole ethos of what, the company, not what I do, what the greater vision is, like engaging and educating and giving people safe space and entertainment and storytelling, and music's a big part of it. And I have to say, like, when I was exposed to it, really just this year, I had really seen all the number of divisions and what they do. Yeah, I'm blown away.
Yeah,
and they are the best at it, right? And for every age, you could say the Mickey Mouse Club, from years ago, right up through to what you're doing on The Chi, or what we're doing on Paradise, or what we did on Empire, or what they did on Glee. Like, I mean, it's just
Paradise was amazing.
Yeah,
I love that show. It was crazy.
Isn't that?
Yeah,
it's what a huge concept, and a big risk, and it's what they've done is just it's incredible. So my role in that is to support Dan in that case. This is the show creator. He has his vision. He turns in the script. He works with creative people on the story, and then it's for me to enable, facilitate, and quite frankly, sometimes stand the hell out of the way. To not get in the way. For his sound, for his show. And I think from the score of that show, if you look, episode 7 is like wall to wall with that bass, like it'll just, it makes you panic.
Right.
100 feet above sea level will be inundated. You're not thinking.
I think that, to the cover tunes.
Every rose has its thorn.
Those cover tunes was crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Dope.
And I actually tried to, because he was using one in 2 places. I actually tried to get him to, I'm like, hey, we could re-record it and we could own it. And to his credit, he's like, I love the way this one's playing. I'm kind of connected to it. I think it'll be best if we keep it. And it's hard to say to a creative partner who you truly value and respect anything other than, yeah, I got your back.
Right.
Mm.
He played well too. I did not.
That was part of my question, was the creative process between director, music supervisor. How's that process work, like, between you guys, like, and picking the right song?
Jeremy, like, I want you to answer this. I'm going to answer this one as well.
Yeah,
because I mean, I'm interested because obviously he's teaching me while I'm learning at the same time, and I noticed that, like, when I approach it, it's like, oh, this feels analog, it feels dark, it feels this, it feels that, but that might not be what you see, and so I got to figure out how do y'all make that work.
From my perspective, I work with the directors hand in hand, and the showrunners hand in hand. You know, it's all a collaboration. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of listening to what they want and hearing it and understanding, you know, because they may not speak the same, you know, music jargon as us.
That's right.
We've all made music forever.
Right.
So it's being able to take the information, and sometimes it's not a song or a beat, it's a feeling.
That's right.
I want to feel like crying.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got to find a song that's, you know, in a minor key.
Right.
That sounds like, and the tempo is, and, you know, it's got bends in it. You know what I mean? And things that are emotional, you know, notes to a record. So it's really about listening, watching and listening to what it is that they feel and that they're going for.
It's totally it.
And I'm really giving you a feeling more than I am a record.
Might I interject and say you did an amazing job on Raising Canaan doing that?
Oh, last week?
You
he called me like, what made you go here? Yeah. I was like, but that's, you know, a lot of times also, I say same, right song, right scene, makes a record feel like a hug.
Oh, yeah.
Like you put the right song in the right scene.
Right.
Totally.
Every time you hear that record, you think about that show.
I'm thinking in a composing standpoint, because like well, obviously I know now the difference with the music supervision and then when this part that I'm jumping more into, right? Sometimes I'm painting a mood that has no scene. I'm painting it that way. So if I'm giving you that mood, if I say like, hey, I have these moods and these things, but it's a composition. It's not necessarily the song that's going to tell a part of, hey, this person just died. We need this song. We need Etta James. We need this. We need that. But sometimes the things that leads up to it and how I paste into that, when do I push the gas and say, no, I really feel like this is it? I pull back.
There's two things there, Danon, right? Because even before the decision tree is this score or is this a song?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So there's a couple of things, right? Just in that question alone. The first question is, you know, your score is part of the mythology of your show. Okay? When someone hears that main title, they know that's the gateway, that's the on-ramp to your show.
Break. Yo, what's good, everybody? I'm Big Tank, host of the Man Behind the Music podcast, and what I need you to do for me right now is to like, share, and subscribe to the Man Behind the Music podcast. Once again, like it, share it, and subscribe to it. Check out the podcast, y'all. The Man Behind the Music. I'm Big Tank. Peace.
And we're back.
When I'm tying it into the song that we pick, let's say you pick the song, right, and I'm composing into that, right? That's what I feel. It's like, when do I push and I say, no, I know that this works, and when do I pull back, and how do I like have that conversation? Because like sometimes the way you paint into the song, if it's D minor or whatever, and I got to get to that place from where they at, whatever is happening in that scene, I got to stretch it to that point, right? But that's like sometimes hard because I feel like this is perfect, like whether it's strings or whether it's just this sound that goes into it, then the song comes on.
Well, see, I would say that the showrunner's vision trumps yours.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so that's why, you know, like the composer's job is man, it's one of the toughest, most thankless jobs.
Gotcha.
You do it alone in a dark room at the direction of someone who does not speak music.
Exactly. Yeah.
And who says, you know, I've had someone say, you know, I feel like it needs to be more.
And then, yeah, exactly.
And that's an Oscar-winning director who said that, and that has worked because you're able to translate that into what does that mean in feeling in music to be able to get there, right?
Okay.
So it's ultimately, if the showrunner director says the score needs to go into the song, then that's on you to figure that out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You're behind the counter at a deli.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? They want the pickle on the side, they want the bologna on the sandwich, and they want it on sourdough. Okay?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what
so you
do.
have to pull it.
Don't add Russian dressing.
Gotcha.
They didn't ask for it.
They don't want Thousand Island. No Thousand Island.
I'm approaching that mountain with the whole thing, and I'm trying to understand when the showrunner's name come up. Like, a lot of people don't really know the importance of that, because I'm learning it now. The showrunner.
For sure.
Like, describe that. Like,
well, it can be a couple of different things, right? Sometimes it's a writer who has the vision for the show, who knows exactly what due north is, right? Has all the
Okay.
principles for here's our guiding principle, and not just with music. Music, remember, is the tip of the tail of the
Yep.
dog. Okay, it's critical, but there's actors, casting, characters, story, plot. There's so many other important things that we're there to embellish. If it all goes right, we're there to embellish it best. So sometimes it's a writer. Sometimes it's more like the CEO. Like imagine that a television production is a corporation, and there's a CEO who makes that call, and the studio is the investors, okay, and the board of directors that the CEO has to report to, and that CEO has an entire company of 300-400 people that are working, that are all, a lot of them creative, some of them technical, and the goal is how do you get the best out of each of those people, including the composer, the music supervisor, maybe the songwriter, maybe the song producer, maybe the vocal producer, and all the writers and the performers and the directors. Remember, we have different directors in television. Every episode very often will have a separate director.
Separate director.
And so, the pilot or prototype director will set the tone and then pass it off to people to come in and stay within that. The showrunner is the CEO of that entire production who makes sure it all is cohesive together and gets done well and on budget.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. So, I mean, I feel like I do a lot of TV shows. You of course, do 20,000 more than I do.
You're great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But like the scores and the music that is picked for these shows, do you feel like people take enough risk in their scores and the things like that? Because like I remember, I want to say it was This Is Us. They kept using I Got Five on it. It was scored so differently and unique that it stuck out. Do you feel like the people who are
so first of all, can I go back and talk about how you moved in music supervision?
Sure.
I want to talk about that for a second.
That's funny.
So Junior Regisford, you guys know him? He brings Tank in. He says I know him from the Gaga days because he was working with Red One.
And B2K and all those guys, yeah.
And so Junior's like, hey, let me bring a composer in. He did the Boondocks. Okay. Junior has credit with me, brings a guy in. Guy walks in with a briefcase. He's got his Ableton Live with him. And we start jamming in the office. Kind of what our thing is that everyone who comes in is musical. We play music with them. And it just says we're all connected. We're all in the band. Now we can talk. And so we had a great meeting. And I think you thought it was great. I thought it was great. Definitely. He left and I called him 2 days later and I'm like, hey, that was a great meeting. I really enjoyed it. Maybe we went and had a dinner or something. And I said, that was really great, but I'm not going to be able to hire you as a composer. It's tough. Like there are the greatest composers out there that have availability right now. It's going to be it's always tough to break someone new in, without a host of relationships. I said, but, I know you were a DJ. You ever thought about music supervision? And he said,
"Oh, what is that?" I have been working in TV forever. I know what that job was.
I said, I think you'd be great at it.
Yep.
And it's a real job. It's not, showing up late at the studio, 4 a.m, hanging out with the band. It is like a real job, doing real clearance, doing real creative, working with show creators. And I introduced you to Lee Daniels the next day, and that was your first music supervision gig.
Yeah.
And then he's gone on now,
Oprah,
Oprah and
that call, Wait, of course,
50 and Lena,
Ava, Karen and Claire. I mean, it's
Ridley
just,
Scott, Karen and Claire, exactly. So it's amazing to come around to where we are now to talk about whether people are taking risks. Okay, I think that not every show is the right one to take a risk on.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at, remember that movie Whiplash, right? Or Birdman. How about Birdman?
Birdman,
yeah.
Okay.
For
Remember
sure.
Birdman?
Yeah.
Remember the score? It's all
Yeah.
drums,
Mm-hmm.
right? Talk about what a huge bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Is Us actually was all in Nick Cave tuning, open A. Okay, so that was its own thing, and I think that White Lotus did a great job of like that sound. Season 1, I remember watching that for the first time and going, what? I mean, what is that? And then it just became a fabric for the show.
It's true.
So again, some shows, that's the time to take a huge risk. That's the time to do something that is out there. Other shows, we really just need, some strings underneath to embellish the emotion. You know what I mean? I mean, look at The Simpsons. Simpsons is a show that we support. I mean, those guys musically, to me, it's the high watermark of what a show could be. Okay, that main title, ba 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 da.
Yeah.
See that? Now you got to pay royalties on that. But that is the gateway to the show. It's going to sound like it. You hear it so many other times throughout the episode, right? And then all of a sudden you've got story with The Weeknd integrated, right? Or you got a story with Lizzo, right? And now or Billie Eilish worked like on the most contemporary of artists connected to a series that is 30 plus seasons into it.
Rock, what you got?
From a business standpoint, how important is music in a series when it comes to branding and awards and stuff like that?
Let's look at Only Murders in the Building.
Okay.
Only Murders in the Building is a great example. And again, I think it's a great, it's beautifully done. It's you hear that main title, you're in that show. It's kind of a caper. It speaks to New York, right? We had last season, which will be 2 seasons ago when this airs, was all based on Broadway, a Broadway musical. So we brought in Pasek and Paul, who are like the biggest Broadway songwriters, and they actually brought in some of their idols to co-write with them, and they wrote 4 songs for us. So, and I'm going to circle back to your question about the business, which I think you're talking about our business and how critical is it. Well, so Only Murders in the Building was, I want to say, the most nominated series that year at the Emmys. We won for song, which was an EGOT for Pasek and Paul, and we won for Underscore for Sid Kozla too. And so, those Emmys, they go on the wall at the studio the same way as Best Actor and Best Comedy do. And that is that's an achievement for us and for the collective of our company. But to talk about the business, you're going to talk to someone who's a dear friend of ours. Okay, when I joined, Empire was first of all the biggest thing on television. Okay. And they had a relationship with Columbia Records through Tubby, okay? And Sean Holiday was like the MVP of Empire. You would never know. I don't think he even had a credit on the show, okay, which he might bring up. But there he was in the background. First of all, learning about the showrunner process, the writer-director process, working with the artists, okay, all of the talent, but also helping us source the best songs, and so and there was a very clear model and template, and not every songwriter fit into that model and template, and sometimes he was able to help bend, and sometimes other people were able to help bend, and we ended up doing like 100 original songs with multiple songwriters, multiple producers, a season. Okay. And then we put out a record, and then they go to radio, and at its peak, I think Empire was, had pierced the zeitgeist and was a part of shadowing and driving culture at that moment. And, so that's a good example where, our business relationship where he's at the label, at the publisher, and we're putting out records. They're contributing to costs. We're getting the greatest songwriters and producers. We're leaning on his relationships. The label is leaning on our ability to drive emotion through music.
Yeah.
And I think, and obviously the show was great and the writers were great, and that was a real moment.
Yeah. Wow.
Then what you got?
So I'm excited, obviously, with everything that's happening with technology, seeing how visuals change today, right? How everybody approaches it, I think, is the most important part, right? But what are you excited about in the future, or where are we going, with just visuals and, music and everything together? What are you excited about?
Well, first of all, I'm not excited about MPC 3.0.
No.
Okay.
Why not?
He's a hater.
I wish they would just go
not?
back to the old operating system, which is a lot easier.
I mean,
crazy.
there's still a renaissance. There's still a renaissance technique.
All these, listen, if he wants to stay in 2, he can go outside the box and work in the computer. He wants to stay standalone.
I like standalone.
Yeah.
Oh,
I work
yeah,
only
you
in
But he don't
trying
want
to
to go
stay.
to the new operating system.
only
So I'm
in
trying to tell him,
standalone.
like, trust me, this new operating system is crazy. He don't want to do it. I called him this weekend, like, it's crazy. I'm trying to tell you.
I mean, nobody's trying to bring 80 crates of records to rock a party no more. You know what I'm saying?
No, right.
I just feel like you did trying to turn off your phone on silent. I go to the new operating system and I'm like, oh man,
You gotta learn
how
it
do
all over.
I have to decide anyway. I had a great. I was in the audience for a great presentation from some of the artists at ILM, which is Industrial Light Magic, the Lucas film. They're like the innovators of visual effects, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, there's a lot of people who are feeling uncomfortable about AI replacing artists, right? And in our business, and it was comforting to hear, this creative artist, visual effect artist, talk about that there are tools that AI will actually help enable the artist. Okay. And that's what I think. So what am I excited about? I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I think that at the center of it is still some person with an idea, with a vision, with the sound, with a clear outcome that they want to have in their art.
Right.
And I think that all of the tools, including like when I started, it was a drummer and a bass player and a guitarist and a singer. Okay.
Yeah.
And now it's the MPC and samples and plus. Now, when you go into Arcus and stuff, there's things that you can, or Sequus,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? There's little layers and stacks, that technology. There's still someone who has to be driving that and selecting that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's still artist centered and artist powered.
Right.
And so I think that is still the lifeblood.
I agree. I feel like the storytelling gets more compelling and gets more interesting, and it's definitely a different approach. If people are more open-minded to it, do you feel, just a part 2 to that, do you feel that the storytelling gets more creative, or do you feel like people fear themselves out of it? Like, do they scare themselves out of it?
Well, I think both are true at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think there are some people who are, on the tip of doing shit that is really interesting and innovative and ways to power, to use it to power them. And then I think there are some people who are, who want, it dialed back to 20 years ago.
Yeah. Which they
like,
can just do by saying it. I'm waiting on the guy that has never seen a thing, the blind guy, to tell a story of what he see.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know.
From his perspective.
That's interesting.
That's because he can do it now.
For
right?
sure. Yeah, I think
that's what I feel like I'm waiting on that.
But ultimately, again, that's an artist at the center of that.
Exactly.
At the core, at the foundation of that is someone's vision for storytelling. And I think that all impactive art of impact comes from an artist, comes from a person, comes from a need to engage an audience, and I think that never changes.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeremy, you've been doing this a long time now, man, and you're like, you're the guy.
I'm not.
If you had to give advice to
Not
a
the
young
guy.
composer, young music supervisor, or a young television executive trying to come in, and what would it be?
There's a couple things. One, I think, is that be around and say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Be around and say yes to everything, including being in this room right now, including, being in however they can help someone who is
Right.
doing that. So much of my relationships from being a young person came from being the one who was around
And saying yes,
when someone was there and wanted to chat. And now you're shooting pool with an SVP and you're building a relationship.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm learning, and you don't know where the learning comes from. And that, I think, which is critical. You don't get to just select, I'm only going to learn from this person.
Yeah.
You have to take it all in everywhere. So I think first, be around and say yes to everything. Be open to learning can come from even people that you don't know, that they know things that you don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an important thing. And the other thing is, I think find someone who's doing what you want to do and shadow them and get around them and spend time around them. And greatness rubs off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just by seeing someone do something great and being in the room, you learn something and you take that back to, and you apply that to whatever it is that you're doing, and it helps inform you. And it's kind of that you're programming your DNA every day.
Yep.
Man, well, listen, man. I wanted to say thank you. We
Thank you.
really appreciate you
This is a
coming
pleasure
down
for
here.
me.
Nah, man. Seriously, I don't think the world, so much, and the world needs to know about you, first of
Well,
all,
thank
and how
you.
great you are, and just some of your knowledge, man, because, we all are out here, and I was working in this field and didn't know all the positions.
Yeah,
you know what
right.
I'm saying?
Isn't that
So
amazing?
I want you guys to just learn. There's so many different paths you can take.
Hey,
but
also,
first-
Tank. Also, is that don't get stuck in anything, right?
Right.
If you would have said, no, I'm a composer, man. I produce.
Yeah.
Then we wouldn't have this relationship.
Right.
You wouldn't have had this run and the impact that you've had. Not just on your own career, but on the people watching. These shows going, that's a great song. Who chose that?
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And how you affect the emotions. So, I think being open to it, there's no straight line, and you certainly can't prescribe it.
Hey, there isn't
you're-
one.
You embody that.
I appreciate that, man. You got to be able to pivot.
Cheers.
You got to know how to pivot, man.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, you came from records.
Yes. Yeah.
Now look at you.
Someone said to me the other day, we were having lunch. He's a television music person, and we sat down, and he said, a little bit looking down at me, not in a, he was like, hey, so tell me, I knew you as a marketing guy. How do you go from that to 60-person scoring sessions and selecting composers?
Right.
And I said, well, it was the first job ever assigned by random lottery.
Mm.
Wow.
Way to tell them.
Seriously.
It's being open to it.
Yeah.
And knowing how to pivot.
Is it a lot of your side as opposed to the other side? People that know music, that know it, you doing beats and everything, which I know was a great.
It's a good question,
thing.
actually, right?
You know what I'm saying?
What's
What's the other side? Is it more of you and less of them, or more of them and less of you? Like people that know music and know it because
You know
you
what
do
he's
it.
asking?
Well, I think that let me answer that a different way, a very diplomatic way, which is that I think that one of the superchargers of my group, Ward and I at the office, is that when someone comes in, we play music, and then they know we can speak their language,
Right.
and it might give us a little more credibility when we're giving them notes. Okay. I'm not going to say that you have to be able to play music to have success. For us, I think it has enabled us to have success. But I think that you can, L.A. Reid once said to me, he said, "No one can love music more than me, and that's my superpower."
So I think I got you beat though, LA, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Hey, so ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of The Man Behind the Music. Thank you again, Jeremy, for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Guys.
Hey, y'all. We out. See y'all next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
This the man behind the music, they wondering what he's doing. Which beat machine is he using? Which artist is he improving? Trust it isn't fair, must we get the share? Drums is in the air, percussions with the snare. Keep showing his levels, grinding never settles. More than just the lyrics, it's more than the instrumental. Some will never know, work will let it show.